Welcome back on the AM show, and at this juncture, I share with you my blunt thoughts for the morning. I've titled it Of Galamsey Gimmicks, a Family and Friends Government, and Human Rights Abuse. Ghana on the radar. And of course, we're on the radar for all the wrong reasons. This morning, Ghana 4, I'm going straight to it, and I want to start off my blunt thoughts on a singing note. I will not sing, but I'm going to give you the lyrics to a certain song. It dates all the way back to the year 1976, and it was performed by Bob Marley and the Wailers. The title of the track, Who the Cap Fit. Let's do this. Just walk with me. If you know the song, pay attention to the wording. Man to man is so unjust. Children, you don't know whom to trust. Your worst enemy could be your best friend, and your best friend your worst enemy. Some will eat and drink with you, then behind them, sus upon you. Only your friend knows your secrets, so only he could reveal it. And who the cap fit, let them wear it. In the next stanza, and I'll take a portion of that as well, some will hate you, pretend they love you now, then behind you, they will try to eliminate you. But who job less, no one curse. Thank God we're past the worst. Pay attention. Hypocrites and parasites will come up and take a bite. And if your night should turn to day, a lot of people would run away. And who the cap fit, let them wear it. This morning, Ghana 4, I'm thrusting the lyrics of Robert Nesta Marley in your face. And the reason is simple. Our misleaders here in Ghana are aptly described in manifold ways in the song I just sang, when it talks about hypocrites. People who say one thing, do another thing. So this morning, I'm going to be talking about Galamsey. I'm going to be talking about human rights abuse. I'm going to be talking about deception. Our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, had a lot to say back in 2016 before he was elected. He said he would never engage in a family and friends government. Today, practically everything in Ghana that is of any consequence has Akufo-Addo or Foriata and other such names written all over it. So Ghana, I just want us to do this. As I go to the slides, last week I was telling you we had to wake up. Is this what we bargained for, really? Is it? From the fight against Galamsey to the scourge of corruption, to everything else that we've seen in our economy. Is this what was promised? The slides will do the talking. All of them, all 10 of them, and I'll rest my case. Now, when you look at the latest development, because I did say I was going to start off with Galamsey, Professor Frimpong Boateng, former minister. And by the way, there's, I believe, I don't want to mention the name of the paper, I could get it wrong, but I remember its headline from back then, that he had been sacked for soiling the image of the government and of the Jubilee House. But in recent times, this is what he's had to say. And in that latest 36, 37-page document, we get an even broader feel of what his allegations are. Sent to the chief of staff with no action till today. Let me tell you that I did not take one excavator for anything. They know the truth. Now things are coming up. We know those who are behind it and the party people who are there, people in government, including the Jubilee House, who are doing Galamsey and so on, even now. You can go as far back as 2021, or you can come to today. After all, how many months ago was it that Akonta Mining was pointed to? Spearheaded, owned by the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the MPP. Now, we take some more from Prof. On the back of that, Mr. President tasked the police to investigate the allegations by the former Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation regarding or in respect of the seat of government's involvement in illegal mining, where he himself sits, Mr. President. Let's go to the next slide. Again, Prof says, I can state without any equivocation. Now, he was minister. He supervised all of this. He says, I can state without any equivocation that many party officials from the national to the unit committee level had their friends personal assistants, agents, relatives, financiers, or relatives engaged in illegal mining. Most of them engaged Chinese working for them. A lot of the time, we castigate some of those people we see there. We should look at those who sent those people there. That is what we ought to be looking at. Next slide. And I want you to pay close attention to relatives, agents, personal assistants, because I'll get to that. I'll get to what Mr. President said and what we're seeing now. He accused the former NPP MP in the Ashanti region of selling illegally acquired concessions at 200 Ghana cedis each, 200,000 Ghana cedis each. That's what someone supposedly was benefiting from. And the country, you and I, we are bleeding because someone profited. There are appointees in the Jubilee House that are doing or supporting illegal mining or interfering with the fight against the menace. So some may not be involved in it themselves, but they are shielding other people. And that is the former minister saying that. He was sacked. He gave his report. Until today, nothing has happened. Next slide. He stresses that the allegations of some 500 missing excavators from illegal miners in 2020 were fabrications of persons in the government to get him out of the way. That is what he alleges. We all saw the saga of the excavators and some that flew wings and ended up in certain places, ended back with people from which they had been taken. That's okay. But this is what he alleges. I'm going to tie that Galamsey script to this. And in the end, you will see the marriage between them and why it is such a huge problem. Ellen Amadako is an NPP communications member. In recent times, she was on a different media platform, a sister station, had an interview. And it was interesting because when she was asked about family and friends in government, she had an interesting perspective on the back of the Electoral Commission's appointments, among others. This is what she said. I don't see the need to attack the president because he is working with his family and friends. Were you expecting him to use his enemies? If I were given power, I would most definitely give positions to my family members whom I think can do the job. Let's pause right there. Pay attention to it. If you didn't hear me well, read it again. And yet we claim we're a democracy and we want to model what we do on what other well-established democracies do. But in any case, is this what we were promised? Is this what we were told would happen? Do you remember the instance of Joyce Bawa Mokhtari? She now speaks for the former president and all of that. I say, if I had my way, qualifications, yes. But how about we follow the example of Dr. Yao, in fact, Daniel Yao Domelevo, the former Auditor General. His own son was applying for a position there. Qualified, yes. He said no. He shut it down. Go elsewhere. Because I'm here. There could be conflict of interest. And I believed Akufo-Addo, our president, when he said that he would not practice same. I mean, back then we could talk of, well, Joyce Bawa Mokhtari. The linkage to the former president, a bit stretched, but a linkage all the same. A link is a link. A relative is a relative. But come and look at what we are seeing now. Let's go to the next slide. Now, you go back a few years, in fact, specifically to November 18, 2016, and the internet never forgets. Twitter can be savage. The president now, the then candidate Akufo-Addo, posted this. And it says, we're coming into office to work for all Ghanaians and not just a few, and certainly not our family and friends. Now let's go back. Remember what the president said. Ellen Amadako says, what do you expect him to work with? His enemies? Of course he will work with his family and friends. But now look at what the president is saying. We are not here to work for any family and friends, for just a few, but we are here to work for all. Certainly not our family and friends. He posted this with this number of likes. You can go and check it out. November 18, 2016. Next slide. There is also this bit. Ghana has been cited for human rights abuses in the U.S. State Department's 2022 report. And you can see there one of the instances, Oliver Barker-Vormawor Mause, and his entire debacle. Next slide. Now, the range of abuse, according to them, arbitrary or unlawful killings, extrajudicial killings, the torture, or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment carried out by the government or on its behalf. And in that final slide, we'll give you a fair idea of what exactly they are pointing to. Of course, they talk about deprivation of life and politically motivated killings, freedom of expression, the same freedom of expression that the president at the SONA was castigating diplomats for, forgetting that when John Benjamin, the former UK High Commissioner, was spewing everything that he did against the former administration, no one did anything to him. But at a SONA, State of the Nation address, he had to bring that up. Freedom of peaceful assembly, violence and harassment, and haven't we seen that many a time on the back of some of the interventions by the police and the military. Censorship, trial procedures, corruption, of course, LGBTQI+. Why have I brought up these three matters? Because we've got to the point where, as a country, if we don't start reflecting on what is said and what is delivered, like with the fight against Galamsey, I'll put my presidency on the line. Mr. President, where's your commitment? Have you seen our water bodies recently? Do they give you the reports? Or all of a sudden, your vociferousness has waned. I guess it's always easier when the shoe is on the other foot. It's like that saying, all of us are good judges of others, but good lawyers for ourselves. Interestingly, Mr. President is a lawyer. So you can be a good lawyer for yourself, but those operating in your circle, how are you judging them? Galamsey is destroying our country. And Mr. President, I'm sad to say you are looking on and watching it happen. I am lost for words this morning. It's so disheartening because Galamsey is destroying us and you are not doing anything about it. This latest report is the nail in your coffin. Because guess what? You said, and by the way, I'm not meaning a literal coffin, but maybe your political coffin. You put your presidency on the line. Mr. President, you have failed. And that is the coffin I speak of. You told us there will be no family and friends. You will stick to what you promised us. This exposes you. And finally, you're a human rights lawyer, so to speak. You have fought the cause of many. This is a blot on our national credentials. The time is now, Mr. President, to do something about these issues. Because whether it's Galamsey, whether it's human rights abuse, whether it's not sticking to your word, it's making the electorate become very despondent. And all that, Mr. President, is on you. Just a gentle reminder. My name is Benjamin Akakwe. I'm just a journalist reminding you, Mr. President, to live up to the high hopes you gave Ghanaians in 2016. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, and edited, and diluted. May God bless Ghanaians and Ghana and make our nation truly great and strong.